Nick from All Day Rips back here again. We're going to do a video today on how to comp a card. So when you go to a show or when you online in an auction or whatever, how do you figure out the value quickly? What's the best way? Free or paid? Or maybe both. Maybe a combination. I personally like to use a few ways. So let's jump into the video and let's see what we know. All right, so as we get into this, we're going to use a few different tools. The free ones will be 130point.com and eBay. And then we're also going to use Alt. Those are all free. And then we will check out Card Ladder, which is paid version, and we'll kind of compare the results. All right, so let's do our first card here. Bring this in. We're going to pull up the screen and say bye-bye to me. And let's do that. We are going to go to 130point.com. And boom, it would look like this. You've got your whole different marketplace data here, and you've got just eBay here. For today, we're going to click eBay. And let's bring on Alt. Okay. So our first card, since I brought Alt up, we're going to do a graded card. And for our graded card, we will do a Giannis autograph. Here's our card. So what you're going to want to do is line it up, hit your button, and it'll bring up results. As we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and put in 2019 Mosaic Giannis Auto. And we're going to put red in. And let's see what pops up. All right, and then over here on Alt, we can see that we have a 398 value. We have 2 cards sold, so that's awesome. Over here on 130 point, we see that on February 6th, a raw one sold. On January 6th, or 26th, that's a different one. And on the 19th, a PSA 8 sold for $248. Wow. And then on Alt over here, it's saying that we have one sold for $411 and $225 in a PSA 10. So as you scroll down, there's the $411 that you're going to see on Alt. So they do line up. Everything's there. As you go down, you should see the $225 at some point. It was back in November. But you can see there's lots of other sales in between there. So if you're looking at just a PSA 10 and you want to do that, you can do it in Alt. One of the neat things on Alt, though, if you scroll back up, you could do all grades. And that'll kind of give you a true value. Say you couldn't find a PSA 10. Well, you could look at all different values here. So you have PSA 8s, and you could hit View All. And you have PSA 8, PSA 10, PSA 10, and PSA 9. Now, these are older sales in some forms, and some are just this year. So it's a great way to look at things. Now, that's one way that we can look at a graded card. To add another way to look at a graded card, we're going to use the same card, and we're going to hit Card Ladder. Now, in Card Ladder, you're able to use picture or type it in. Now on Alt, you can type stuff in. You can also look at current eBay sales. Same thing on 130point.com. But today, we're just going to check out the difference and see if there's any big variance. There's not. It's not always that easy, though. But in today's purposes, you can see right here on Card Ladder that for 411 and 224, those sales were listed. So everything lines up. Now on 130 point, if I were to add a PSA 10 to it, okay, now that's going to bring up some PSA. It will, because we have different forms of autos, you still may see other stuff, so make sure you're paying attention to your picture. But right there are the cards that were listed. So we know now that the last one sold for $411, and there was a PSA 8 that sold for $248, so it's probably around a $400 card. Boom. Now, let's move on and let's check a raw card versus a graded card. So we're going to use Card Ladder here still, and we can use a picture. So we're going to take a picture of this Bo Nix. At the same time, we're going to type in 2024 Prism, and we're going to put Bo Nix in, and then silver, and that hopefully will bring up. He does have a variant one, so that could come up also, but that's okay. And then also inserts and whatever. But right here we see on February 11th, it sold for $89. The last one sold on Card Ladder is February 10th for $95. So we're not seeing exactly the same on this one, but we're using a picture versus typed in. So on Card Ladder, what you can do to see if it matches is put the same thing in. And we'll do that really quickly. Bo Nix, silver. Boom. And let's see what pops up. Now we see the $89 on February 11th, so it lines up. So again, your lingo or whatever you type in, so to speak, will dictate what you actually see in the same form in different apps. Some apps do have a little more current data or some back data that's not listed. Now, if you were to want to use the eBay app, because we can see right here that these all kind of line up, right? So let's check the eBay app real quick, because you can do the same thing there with pictures, which is cool. And let's see what pops up. Now, first thing that pops up is going to be for sale. Okay. So I'll pull that up so we don't confuse here. The first thing up is for sale. What you do is you click filter and you scroll down for show more. Scroll down a bit more. Ooh, where'd you go? And right here it says sold. Click that. Now, as you click show, you're going to start to see a bunch of different stuff, because this isn't going to necessarily thin out the stuff. So, but there's that one that sold for $125. We saw that. The ones that say best offer and say sold for $449, those you really need to go to 130 point and see what they truly sold for. So this one was for sale on December 19th. Let's see if we have one on December 19th and see what it truly sold for. Lot in February here. So we don't have the ability to go back to February or December 19th, but on Card Ladder, we probably do. So I would recommend to utilize different forms. Okay, so all the way back here in December 19th, the 439 one sold for 432. So we looked at that. It's not much difference, but you never know what the difference might be. So make sure you're looking at those and get all the research you can. Even if all the numbers are different, it can still be an average number. So let's look into another card really quickly. All right, so we're going to do one more card here. We're going to check out a baseball card. Grab our picture. While that's loading, I'm going to go right over here and we're going to hit submit. And let's see what we've got. So it's saying it's a Pop 74. I like that about Alt, where it shows you how many cards are graded. So there was 74 10s, 125 9s, and so on. But what you really want to look at here is Alt says there's a sale for 700. 130 point also says there's a sale for 700 next to a 636 and a 636. It is an identical match. So while that doesn't necessarily tell you an exact comp, you could go with the current value, you can go with an average. That's all up to you as the person making the value of your own cards. But for me personally, you know, seeing the last comps at 700 and it happened after the season, probably going to go with that as the value. Others may argue, you know, it hadn't sold in a while. This older value may be there, whatever. I'm going to go with my current value. This card to me is about $700. So that's just one more way to look at it. To finish this up, let's go to Card Ladder real quick here and see what Card Ladder has to say about it. So as it loads up, 700, 636, 636. So in this instance, everything lines up. All worlds are perfect, and everything points to 675 to 700, because this one's saying 675. Last sale is 700. Either way, that's fine. So when you're out and about and you want to know the value, or at home or whatever, 130point.com is free. eBay, make sure you're looking at advanced, trying to see the actual sales. Or you could use Alt if it's graded. If you want to have a paid app, Market Movers and Card Ladder are great apps. In addition, if you can't find a card, it's not comped at all, nothing. Everything you would want to do is go find comparable cards. So if you were looking for a 2024 Jaden Daniels 1 of 1, you could simply search Jaden Daniels 1 of 1 and see what pops up. In Card Ladder, you could also do the same thing and search Jaden Daniels 1 of 1 and see what pops up. So on here, we get a printing plate. Oh, look, it's identical. So everything works out good here. So, and then you could just start to dial in which type of 1 of 1 you had. Let's say it was, there's not a lot of true 1 of 1s on here, but let's say it was a Leaf one. This Leaf is a CGC 10. Not going to count the grading on that. It sold for $421. It's a 1 of 1. So a Leaf 1 of 1. Okay. Is there any other comparables? There's a Leaf printing plate for $460. Sort of in line, right? The Paul Skeens and the Jaden Daniels, we won't count that one because that's a little out there, but that's a cool card. But as you go on, you're going to want to find just comparables. And as you saw, there was 2 there at 400. Here's another Leaf at 600. That was February 5th. Cool card. Here's another 1 of 1 for 850. So now as you start to see there's a lot of different values, you have to assess the value. When it's a 1 of 1 or a pop 1 or just a super rare card and there's no comps, no site is going to just say, well, this is the value. So you have to do a lot of research, dig, compare those numbers, and come up with your own. So I'll leave you with that. Hopefully you learned a lot today with me. I love comping cards. I was at a show all last week in Nashville and had lots of people coming up to the table. Some knew how to value their cards, some didn't. And I loved going through all these different options with them. And most of them left very happy knowing something more than what they sat down with. Thanks for tuning in with me. We'll see you on the next go around, but keep ribbing all day.